What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Breakup Brad, and in today's video, I'll explain exactly what you need to do in order to make your ex miss you like mad and beg to have you back. Now, I promise by the end of this video, you're going to not only learn what to do to make your ex miss you, you're also going to understand why it's so critical for your ex to miss you in order to get a second chance with them. Now, let's begin with an unavoidable truth about getting back together with your ex. In order to ever really, truly get back with your ex, in order for you to have really any kind of meaningful long-term future together as a couple, your ex needs to want to be with you again. It has to be their choice and a decision that they feel as though they've made on their own. You can't talk them into loving you again or, taking you back. This is a decision that only your ex can make for themselves. What you can do, though, is help your ex to come to that kind of conclusion. You can ensure that you're doing everything in your power to lead them to a decision that breaking up was a mistake and that they should ask you for another chance. Now, there are a couple things that you can do to shift your ex's feeling in that direction and help them reach that point. But by far the biggest one is to make them miss you like crazy. So think about it this way, okay? If your ex is desperately missing you, that's going to be an all-consuming emotion. It's hard to think about anything else when you miss someone like mad because it's a very powerful emotion that you can't just ignore. I mean, if you've ever been separated from a loved one for a long period of time or, had someone close to you pass away, then you know the feeling. But unlike when a close family member dies, your ex has a simple way to overcome these emotions and end the heartache that they're feeling when they miss you desperately. They can ask you to get back together. That's really the only easy, quick way for your ex to stop the pain. And if they don't miss you, it's extremely unlikely that they're going to change their mind about breaking up. I mean, why would they want to take you back if they're doing fine without you? Why would they feel any kind of urgency or pressure to agree to give your relationship another shot? It's those feelings of missing you that will lead them to decide that they need you back. So, like I said, making them miss you is critical. And in a second, I'll explain exactly how to do that. Before I get into how you make your ex miss you, I want to touch briefly on two critical mistakes that a lot of people make that actually make your ex miss you less. Now, these are mistakes that you might make unknowingly, which I see all the time, that could even kill your chances outright. Mistake number one is showing any kind of desperation or neediness. See, if you want your ex to miss you, you need to avoid looking overly emotional, desperate, or clingy. You should be acting as though you're really not that upset about the breakup, and you're not particularly bothered by the idea of just going your separate ways. That means, you don't want to be posting sad quotes or lyrics on your social media, telling your ex how badly you want them back, or writing love notes, promising to change or do things differently if they'll give you another chance. Because simply put, these are unattractive traits that will confirm for your ex that breaking up was the right choice. They'll feel like they can continue to enjoy being single, continue dating around and seeing if they can find someone new to replace you. And they'll feel no urgency at all. They know that you'll be waiting for them and you'll be eager to take them back anytime they want. And this gives them, plenty of time to slowly adapt to life without you. And it doesn't let them feel the full consequences of breaking up. So avoid giving off any desperate or needy vibes around your ex. And mistake number two is failing to appreciate the importance of no contact. Now, I know you've probably heard all about no contact before, but there's a very common misconception that most people have when it comes to no contact. Many people worry that their ex will forget about them and just sort of slip away during a period of no contact. And of course, this is an understandable and very natural thought process. After all, if you don't talk to or interact with your ex at all for weeks or even months, it feels like you're doing nothing to win them back. It feels like you're letting any chance to change their mind just slip away by sitting back and taking a passive approach to the situation. And of course, that can be a very scary feeling. But this is actually a completely backwards way of thinking about things. In reality, no contact is the best way to make your ex miss you and want you back. As we've already discussed, your ex really needs to miss you in order to change their mind and decide that they want to give your relationship another chance. And if you're constantly talking and engaging with your ex, how are they going to miss you? You can't miss somebody who's always around. So the more you're willing to be part of your ex's life after the breakup, the less they're going to miss you. It's as simple as that. Okay, now let's move on to the really juicy part. Let's talk about some of the things that you can do to make your ex miss you as much as possible. The number one thing that will make your ex miss you is your absence. As we've just touched on, disappearing from their life as much as possible and as soon as possible after the initial breakup is by far the single most effective thing that you can do to make your ex miss you like crazy. Every time you talk to your ex, hang out with them, give them, what they need to quash those feelings of missing you, you're helping them stop missing you. And slowly over time, they'll learn to live without you, and your window of opportunity to get them back is going to begin to close. So the more you can vanish from their life completely and immediately, the more intense their heartache is going to be, and the more you're going to increase the chances that they change their mind about breaking up. So as an analogy, think about what it's like when you lose your phone. I'm assuming you're probably watching this video on your smartphone right now. You probably use it, constantly throughout your day to keep in touch with friends and family, organize your schedule, check social media, pay for things, and so on, right? It's a big part of your daily life, and you've become reliant on it and accustomed to always having it in your pocket. So if I suddenly, stole your phone from you, that's going to really suck, right? You'd have no way to call your friends, check your calendar, set an alarm, look up the train schedule, and so on. So it's going to have a really big negative impact on your life and be very hard to adjust when you've gotten so used to having it around all the time. Now, on the other hand, what if instead of stealing your phone out of the blue, I took it away from you for just an hour today? And then I came back tomorrow and I took it for 2 hours. The next day I took it for 3 hours, and so on. It's going to be a lot easier to deal with losing your phone slowly over time, right? You'll have a chance to adapt to living more and more of your daily life without your phone in your hand. You'll miss having that phone around a lot less if it happens gradually than if it happens suddenly. And really, the situation for your ex is very similar. You were an important part of their life when you were still together, right? Chances are you spent a lot of your day talking to them or being with one another. You had, routines and habits that were comfortable for both of you. And your ex came to really depend on having you around for support, affection, and companionship. So for your ex, it's going to be far more painful and more, shocking if they lose all of those benefits overnight. They'll have to suddenly face life without your companionship and your support. They'll have to learn how to go to bed without saying goodnight to you, find someone else to vent their frustrations to, and build new routines to replace the old ones that you'd become so accustomed to, during your relationship. It's going to really upend their life and their daily routine, and it's going to be very emotionally traumatic. But, on the other hand, if you continue to talk with your ex all the time after breaking up, if you allow yourself to continue being their emotional outlet, their confidant, the person they can text or call anytime they're lonely, they're going to have time to adjust. The emotions won't be nearly as intense or shocking as they would be if you just suddenly vanished from their life entirely. And that will, as we've already discussed, give them the time to slowly adapt and learn to live without you. They won't miss you nearly as much as they would if you immediately and completely disappear after the breakup. And, that is why employing a period of no contact, or at the very least, a period of limited contact where you see and talk to your ex, as infrequently as is realistically possible, is going to make them miss you more than really anything else will. Now, moving on, another thing that will cause your ex to miss you happens when they start to let go of negative memories and emotions. So your ex is human, and humans have a natural hardwired tendency to forget or suppress negative memories and feelings. As time passes, we tend to keep the best, happiest, and fondest memories at the top of our minds, right? We sort of filter out the bad stuff and romanticize the good stuff. And this natural phenomenon it's a biological process that ensures that, we don't end up living the rest of our lives in a state of depression when we lose a loved one or, go through a tough stretch of life. And when it comes to your ex, well, as time passes since the breakup, and especially when you remove yourself from their life entirely, like during no contact, your ex will start to let go of negative feelings and memories. They'll naturally feel less upset about, any bad things that you did to them. They'll stop being so annoyed or irritated by things you might have done that helped lead to the breakup. And most importantly, they're going to stop focusing on any logical or rational reasons that they came up with when they decided that breaking up was the right choice. Instead, they'll tend to subconsciously start focusing more on those happier memories, the positive things that you brought to their life, and the best aspects of your relationship together. Now, for the most part, this isn't something that you can really control, other than giving your ex the time and space to start forgetting about the problems and the negatives that led to the breakup. Now, this will happen on its own over time, at least as long as you don't remind them of any old issues or reasons for breaking up by exhibiting those same behaviors or bringing them up in conversation. As I've covered in some of my other videos, the last thing you want to do is get into, any kind of heavy, serious conversation about your relationship or your past problems with your ex. And along the same lines, another thing that will cause your ex to miss you is reminders of the positives that you brought to the relationship and to their life in general. So this is basically the opposite of what we just talked about. When your ex is reminded about your best attributes in the happiest moments of your time together, they'll naturally miss you and they'll wish that they could have you back. So, for example, if you're funny and you could often make your ex laugh, well, then they're going to miss those jokes. And any reminder of your sense of humor is going to bring those feelings to the surface. They'll remember how, you could always make them laugh and wish that they were still around now just to crack a joke and to make them smile. Or, similarly, maybe you were really, supportive of their schoolwork and their budding career at work. You let them vent your frustrations after a long day of classes or at the office, and they look to you for encouragement and support. So if you remind them how helpful you were in that way when you were still together, if they wish that, you were still around to provide that support and encouragement, then they're going to focus on the fact that they've lost that since breaking up. So during no contact and in the first few weeks after breaking up, more broadly, there's not much you can do to force your ex to remember these kinds of things. But, once you do start to reconnect with your ex, you can help them to remember, what they loved about you by showing those characteristics. So if your ex loved how funny you were, you can send them a text that will give them a laugh or a smile. Basically, you just want to subtly remind them of your positive attributes and the parts about your time together that they appreciated the most. Now, lastly, one final thing that makes your ex miss you is jealousy. Basically, if your ex feels jealous, either because they find out that you're dating somebody new, you've been hanging out with mutual friends without them, or even just because they see you're doing fun, exciting stuff and just living life to the fullest, it's going to make them feel like they're missing out. While FOMO, fear of missing out, isn't exactly the same kind of missing you as the previous ones we've discussed, it does still create those same emotions in your ex's mind. So the more you can live it up after the breakup, the more dates you go on, the more new friends you make, and the more you succeed in school, work, or life generally, the more they'll be feeling that FOMO, and they're going to wish you were still around or still be part of their life. Now, I do want to make a quick warning here. Be careful trying to incite jealousy. It is a very effective strategy when you use it properly, but most people don't, to be honest, and that often backfires in a really bad way. So check out my other videos on jealousy before you try this out yourself, or visit breakupbrad.com/coaching and sign up for my one-on-one coaching program so we can come up with a plan together to safely use jealousy to help ensure that you do get that second chance with your ex. All right, now before we wrap this up, I want to share with you just a couple of simple text messages that you can use to help your ex miss you. Again, as I've already explained earlier in the video, these are designed to be used after a period of no contact. So only consider sending these texts if you've completed a no contact phase of some kind, or if you know for sure that the timing is right and that your ex is going to be receptive. So the first message that I want to talk about is the good reminder text. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos here on YouTube, you might have heard about this one already. Basically, the good reminder text does exactly what it sounds like. It reminds your ex of a good time. So to start, think of something that you and your ex shared together. Be it a song, a place, a movie, special day. And then come up with a message that will make them relive that memory in detail. So for instance, let's say that there's a song you used to listen to together. You can send them something like, hey, I heard our song on the radio today and it reminded me of that time we spent, the weekend we spent camping under the stars. That was the most incredible weekend. Hope everything's well with you. Or on the other hand, maybe you watched a certain TV show together and you can blast off a text about the latest episode or a catchphrase from it that you both enjoyed. Personalize these messages so they're, relevant to your ex, obviously. And just remember that the more detailed you can be, the more effective that the text is going to be. And I promise that when you do think of a good idea for this kind of message, it's not going to sound nearly as cheesy and lame as it does when I just read these examples right aloud. Let's move on to text message number 2, which is called the mystery question text. Now, this one is one of my absolute favorites for 2 reasons. First, it's pretty hard to screw this one up, so it usually has a very low chance of backfiring on you. And secondly, it's very effective in making your ex curious and a little bit jealous at the same time, really without them ever realizing your true intentions. Now, all this type of message involves is asking your ex a seemingly legitimate question that they're likely going to know the answer to, while simultaneously referencing a mysterious, unknown friend. So for example, you could say, like, hey, do you remember the name of that Greek restaurant we went to for your staff party last year? A friend from out of town is visiting this weekend, and I really want to take her there. Now, obviously, with this message, you're asking a legitimate, reasonable question. What's the name of that restaurant? While you're also subtly hinting that you're taking a mysterious new friend there. And that's going to generate a reply and likely get your ex wondering, who this out-of-town friend is. Now, it's best that if this friend is a real person, not just made up. And it's best if they're of the opposite sex. But don't give your ex any more details about this person other than to mention them as a friend, to ensure that your ex wonders who they are and what your relationship with this person is. And all you really need to do to use this text message to your advantage is just think up a good, legitimate question to ask your ex. And that's why it's one of the easiest and most effective messages that you can send. And it will, at the very least, get your ex thinking about you and generate some of that FOMO in the back of their mind. The third and final message I want to cover, it doesn't really have a name. It just involves sending a text that references an inside joke, or even just makes your ex smile when they read it. So really, any kind of message that references a shared inside joke that only your ex will understand, something from your time together that they won't have forgotten about, is a great way to remind them of the special and unique bond that you shared when you were still a couple. To be honest, really any message that is pretty much guaranteed to make your ex crack a smile or laugh when they read it is also going to help them miss you, miss having you around. Now, don't force it or try to act out of character. But if you can come up with something that you know for sure will make your ex laugh or smile, then it's probably a great message that's going to help you induce those feelings of missing you. All right, that's it for this one, guys. For my personal help and ongoing guidance to ensure that you get a second chance with your ex, as I said before, you can sign up for my one-on-one coaching at breakupbrad.com/coaching. I'd love to learn all about your situation and make sure that you win your ex back before it's too late. Don't forget to leave any questions or feedback in the comments. I will promise I will read every single one. And of course, please click subscribe and like to show your support. I really, really appreciate it. Good luck out there, guys, and we will talk to you again soon.